Russia's Coast Guard opened fire on and seized 3 of Ukraine's vessels Thursday, wounding 2 crew members after a tense standoff in the Black Sea near the Crimean Peninsula, the Ukrainian Navy said. Russia blamed Ukraine for provoking the incident, which sharply escalated tensions that have been growing between the two countries since Moscow annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014, and it has worked steadily to bolster its zone of control around the peninsula. Earlier in the day, Russia and Ukraine traded accusations over a separate incident involving the same vessels, prompting Moscow to block passage through the narrow Kerch Strait, which separates the peninsula from the Russian mainland. The Ukrainian Navy said 2 of its gunboats were struck and Russian crews boarded and seized them, and an accompanying tugboat. Russia's Federal Security Service, known as the FSB, and which oversees the Coast Guard, said there was irrefutable evidence that Kiev prepared and orchestrated provocations in the Black Sea. These materials will soon be made public. The FSB confirmed early Friday that it fired on the vessels to force them to stop and then seized them. The European Union and NATO called for restraint from both sides and for Moscow to restore access to the strait, which Ukraine uses to move ships to and from ports on either side of the peninsula. BBC News said the EU called on Russia to restore freedom of passage at the Kerch Strait and urged all to act with utmost restraint. NATO said it fully supports Ukraine's sovereignty and its territorial integrity, including its navigational rights in its territorial waters. It said Russia should ensure unhindered access to Ukrainian ports in the Azov Sea. An emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council was called for Monday morning over the escalating situation, according to U.S. Ambassador. The tugboat, which was rammed, was traveling with the 2 Ukrainian gunboats from Odessa on the Black Sea to Mariupol, an eastern Ukraine port, via the Kerch Strait. Russian Coast Guard vessels carried out openly aggressive actions against Ukrainian Navy ships, the Ukrainian statement said, with the tugboat suffering damage to its engine, hull, side railing and a lifeboat. The Kerch Strait is the only passage into the Sea of Azov. The strait is spanned by the recently completed Kerch Bridge, connecting Crimea to Russia. Transit under the bridge has been blocked by a tanker ship and dozens of cargo ships awaiting passage are stuck. Russia has not given any indication of how long it will block the strait, but a long-term closure would amount to an economic blockade of Ukrainian cities on the Azov coast. Russia's Black Sea fleet greatly outmatches the Ukrainian Navy. Ukrainian ports on the Sea of Azov include strategically vital centers such as Mariupol, the closest government-controlled city to Donetsk and Luhansk, the breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine controlled by Russia-backed separatists. Thousands of people in those regions have been killed in fighting between Ukrainian troops and the separatists since 2014.